All right, guys, Demacia in the spotlight, piecing together clues for Fortiche's next series. Since the conclusion of the critically acclaimed series Arcane, fans have eagerly awaited news on the next major animation project from Riot Games and the French studio Fortiche Production. I don't know what it is. I'm just like super passionate about the lore, so it hit me so hard, but it's some of the best media I've ever watched in my life. And while Riot has confirmed more stories are coming, the setting and characters have remained closely guarded. We know there's something coming. Where is the question? Like, where's it going to be set in the world of Runeterra? However, recent developer panels and cinematics have provided a trail of compelling clues, and all signs seem to point toward the gleaming yet troubled kingdom of Demacia. In a recent panel, key figures from both Riot and Fortiche discussed their collaborative storytelling process, and in doing so, may have inadvertently revealed more than they intended. Let's break down the evidence. And I want to say this, massive shout out to Snowy Lex in the Discord. He's always pinging me and saying, I mean, he or she, I don't know who they are, but they're always pinging me saying, hey, did you see this at Grove? Or sending me like a tweet or a video. I would have never seen this had it not been for Snowy Lex. So thank you so much, Snowy Lex, for pinging me on these. I'm going to add you to the article somewhere. As soon as you get like a Riot Grove profile, let me know, and I'm going to ping you on there because I really appreciate it. Clue number 1, the Katarina hint. During the Storytelling in League of Legends panel, Matt Costa, Principal Marketing Creative Director at Riot Games, dropped a significant hint while discussing character development. When talking about evolving champions across different mediums, he specifically mentioned the Noxian assassin Katarina as a character ripe for exploration. So let's listen to this.
Hey, what if Darius's troops needed reminded why they follow him, and he knew that? And how is he going to prove himself? Well, he would seek out somebody like Trundle in order to show them, like, hey, I'm going to step up, and you guys don't have to do anything, and you can stand back and watch.
Right here.
Katarina, we have a whole backstory that I won't get too far into because there's, yeah.
This Fortiche guy's like, pull it back. Pull it back. What are you saying? So Katarina, right? That could be Noxus for sure, right? It could be, he could be referencing Noxus, but I would argue personally that Katarina has more of an impact on Demacia than Noxus. You got to remember, Katarina is the one who killed King Jarvan III. Okay? Katarina has done a lot of stuff to Demacia, and guys, she got a love interest in Demacia. You can't forget about it. Demacia, she's honestly in love with Garen. I think I'm gonna pull up some voice lines later to prove it to you guys. But Garen and Katarina have a thing, and then that creates a lot of drama because Garen is really good friends with King Jarvan III, and you know, I don't know how you get over that she killed his dad. So that's gonna be an interesting one to explore. This is more just a casual mention. It's the established lore. Katarina is the assassin responsible for the death of King Jarvan III of Demacia. This single act is a cataclysmic event that throws the kingdom into chaos, fuels the anti-magic rebellion led by Silas, and deepens the conflict between Demacia and Noxus. A story featuring Katarina in a central role would certainly have to address the pivotal moment, placing the narrative squarely within Demacia's borders during one of the most turbulent times in Runeterra's history. Not to mention, if we're talking Katarina killing King Jarvan III, you better believe that has a lot to do with the Black Rose. I'll pull up some clues later to show you guys that. But then you can pull in characters. If you're tying Noxus into Demacia and them assassinating King Jarvan III, well then you pull in, you know, LeBlanc, you can pull in Mel, who maybe was involved in the back end trying to prevent it. A lot of stuff good there. Lux is going to become even more popular if Arcane Season 3 is set in Demacia. Honestly, yeah, Lux is going to be a main character. It's gonna focus on those initial character stories, the relationship between Lux and Garen, a brother and sister, with a sister being magic. That's we can explore that relationship, and then King Jarvan III and their relationship going forward. So there's a lot of like specific character interactions that are grounded and not, you know, super cosmic or magical that'll draw in your standard viewer. We call them the regulars. Wow, Fortiche's art studio, I'm surprised. They seem to be more involved in the internal lore teams at Riot. Yeah, well, when it comes to Arcane, like, I'm sure that they are honestly working so closely together, they feel like one team. Fairly certain the lady in the middle is also a higher up at Fortiche. Yeah, I think she is. She sounded French, so she's probably from Fortiche's side. Finally, Demacia gaming lore. Demacia could use a love treatment for sure. Demacia has great lore, and there's some things that I think Fortiche could fix. I'm going to be honest, guys. When it comes to Warwick, Okay, I understand that some people feel like Warwick maybe the model doesn't look as good, but in terms of his lore, I think he got a buff. Victor, I think again, a lot of people don't like his new model, but in terms of lore, I think his lore is different, but very, very good. And so the fact that they were able to do that, I would trust them to fix the Sentinels of Light. The Sentinels of Light, I really, it did a lot of damage, honestly. I didn't like that Pantheon got possessed again. I mean, how many times does this guy can get possessed? Pantheon got possessed by an aspect of war, gets free. Then he gets possessed by Viego, gets free. Like, is this guy gonna is he gonna go for the trifecta and get possessed again? It's too much. Like, he's supposed to be a god level character in Runeterra. Yorick, I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm not even gonna get into it. The Sentinels of Light needs some work, and I hope that if we're going to Demacia, they could potentially fix that if we end up touching on the Ruination. If you're getting into the Ruination, I think it's gonna have to be like 3 seasons. But clue number 2, we don't stop, guys. It's not over. There's more. A Garen and Darius slip. Another intriguing moment from the same panel came from Bart Manuri, creative director at Fortiche. While discussing the creation of a cinematic that featured Darius fighting Trundle, Manuri accidentally referred to the matchup as Garen versus Darius.
Special, you know, original, and we love high concept at Fortiche, so that's what we did, and at some point, out of nowhere, we said, like, what about like cutting the music, because we wanted to emphasize so much on the fight, this epic fight between Garen and Darius, and
he's got a French accent, but he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't say Trundle. He says Garen and Darius. So he's talking about the fight between Garen and Darius, which we've never actually seen in the lore. But Garen and Darius are both like the pivotal champions of Noxus and Demacia. And if you're gonna put Noxus and Demacia against each other, I think that's a fight that everyone's always wanted to see. If you guys really have no idea about the lore, which I've noticed, you know, no offense to Arcane fans. Okay, I love you guys, I do. But, you know, the lore, Piltover and Zon, the world is bigger than that. It's like you're a guppy in a pond, and I'm like, guys, go swim out in the ocean. Get out there. This is Garen. He's like, you know, a warrior style in Demacia. This is Darius, warrior style in Noxus, and it just feels like a rivalry setup, meant to be. The fight that they're talking about is in, I have it, I'll show it later, actually. But there's a fight that he's talking about between Darius and Trundle that was in the Bite Mark cinematic. But I think this is because he was working on the project. He's working on Garen and Darius, and he's working on that fight maybe, and so he slipped up here and said Garen and Darius instead of you know, Garen and Trundle. By the way, thank you to the person in Discord who hooked us up with this news. Yeah, freaking Snowy Lax coming in clutch. And the clue number 3, Riot stated regional focus. Beyond subtle hints, Riot has been quite direct about where their narrative efforts are being concentrated. In a separate discussion about Arcane's impact on a canon lore, Christian Linke, the co-creator of Arcane, explicitly outlined the region they are prioritizing for future stories. I can just play this here because it's more about what he says and there's not like visual anything that you want to see. But the other guys, I wanted you to see their faces.
Nothing that I don't yet. Okay, I'll give you a little something, because someone says, give us a hint on the next show. Just because I want to make sure that...
there are expectations.
So I'll tell you this.
Okay.
I'll tell you this. When I looked at, there was like 2 or 3 bigger threads on Reddit when people were like, oh, like, they're going to do more shows, more movies, what would be the focal points, right? Pretty much all the like top voted directions are the ones we're exploring.
Okay.
So we are investing quite a bit in Noxus, Ionia, Demacia.
Okay, I don't know if Necrit has insider information. I have no idea. But he gets really intrigued when he says Demacia.
Ionia,
Look at this. He's like, yeah.
Demacia.
Look at this pause, guys. I don't know if Necrit's on the inside. I'm sure he's got buddies at Riot, but there's a specific movement there when he says Demacia. Now, I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat too hard, but it seems like Necrit knew something here. You know,
quite a bit.
He could just be really excited about Demacia. Like me personally, I would have been more excited about Ionia because you start exploring the Azakana, the Spirit Realm. I think that would have drawn my intrigue more. And then the Noxus Ionian War, that makes sense to me. Noxus, I wouldn't have been as excited for because we already touched on it a lot with Mbessa and Mel.
And Noxus, Ionia.
He's like so chill.
Demacia.
Oh, man, I don't know, guys. I don't know. It seems like seems a little bit there's something there. What's your predicted drop date for the Riot MMO? Okay, I'll give you this really quick. I bet Necrit knows the NDA is really strong with this one. Yeah. This statement provides a clear roadmap. Riot is focusing its significant storytelling resources on these 3 powerhouse regions. The question then becomes, which one is next? It's either Noxus, Ionia, and Demacia. What if I've told you they've already touched on Noxus, Ionia, and Demacia? What if I've told you they've already done it? It's already done. And Demacia is the only one left. Connecting the dots, why Demacia's time is now. If you don't already believe me based on the clues from this guy saying Garen and Darius, and then this guy saying King Jarvan III, him saying Katarina and being like the Fortiche guy, being like, pull back, bro. Don't say that stuff. So that's all bad, right? I mean, that's all like, not bad, but like there was clearly a mistake. Like they didn't want him to talk about Katarina, and then him pointing to Garen and Darius for Demacia. Like, why is that on his mind? You know, if he's a Fortiche guy and he just focuses on what Fortiche is focusing on, he shouldn't even have Garen in his thought process at that point. But then, with Riot's focus narrowing to Noxus, Ionia, and Demacia, we can look at their recent output to see which regions have already had their moment in the spotlight. In 2025 season began with Bite Marks, a stunning Fortiche cinematic centered on Noxus, featuring Darius, Mel, Katarina, and other Noxian champions. This is Fortiche doing Noxus. And you can see that Trundle fight over here. I don't think I can play this because of the copyright, the music, but I can play this part. Yeah. Yeah, them fighting. This is that fight that he was talking about where they cut the music. And there's Darius versus Trundle. This is such a good fight. Oh. So gritty. Oh, the true ice. Smacked. Great fight. I've watched that scene so many times. Later in the year, the Trials of Twilight cinematic shifted the focus to Ionia, depicting a hero vision experienced by Xin Zhao. Both of these are Fortiche, guys. Fortiche worked on both of them. And here we could see, if you guys haven't seen it, it's like dark and kind of cinematic. And then right here at the end, that's Fortiche. That's Fortiche's take on Xin Zhao. I mean, it is Fortiche, definitely. It says it in the description of the video, that Fortiche. So they literally did Noxus and they did Ionia. It's time for Demacia. League next is Demacia theme. Come on, Jan. Where are you getting this from? Jan, where is that from? Give me a source. I need like something to tell me that it's Demacia. Like something from Riot that says, hey, Demacia is our next season. Because that seems very telling. 2026 of January, we probably get a Demacia cinematic, just like Bite Marks, by the way. Oh my gosh, guys. It's lining up. It's lining up. We went to Noxus, we went to Ionia, and now we're all heading to Demacia together. Then they announce Arcane Demacia. It just seems, hey, seems like it's there. They already did Lord for Noxus, Ionia. Give me Demacia already. Exactly. Either that or Ishtal. Yeah, Ishtal is slept on. Ishtal is really, really slept on. I think Ishtal has some great lore. I don't know if you guys ever read the this one right here, Who Needs a Map, which you could tie in. Oh, not Who Needs a Map. It's Conquest for Glory. This is the jungles of Shurima, which she's referencing Ishtal. The jungles of Shurima are a frontier that the most ambitious general would dearly love to claim for Noxus. Following the expedition of Commander Yasar Tomari aboard the frigate Ardentius, as she attempts to carve out her place in the annals of history. Basically, this lady is just like a cocky Noxian. She's like more about herself than Noxus, which Noxus doesn't like. If you're going to be about Noxus, you have to be for the Empire, not for yourself. But the problem with Yasar Tomari is that she's seeking glory for herself. And so what Noxus does is they tell her, okay, you want to prove yourself to Noxus? Why don't you go conquer Ishtal? And Noxus does this to people as basically a death sentence. She sends them, she gets sent down here into the jungles of Ishtal to conquer it, and then she even realizes that she was sent there to die because it's impossible, because the jungle is literally alive and swallows her up, and she ends up, I think, on the shores of Tranit or something else, literally just dead and covered in vines. It's a kind of gruesome story. I love that one. It's right here. Conquers for the glory of Noxus. The jungle does not treat foreign invaders kindly. Unable to find their bearings or any quarry for the beast hunters, the Noxian morale and discipline begins to falter. They all end up dead. I can go through Ishtal's lore. Yeah, food for Zira. Well, not really Zira, actually. Zira's down here. But Zira is also another problem with Ishtal. Ishtal, you got to remember, Skarner and the Ishtali leaders do not want anyone exploring Ishtal. They view the entire world as outsiders, and especially after the Rune Wars, they're like, well, this whole world is, just wasted space, corruption, like we don't want anything to do with them. The Ruination, the Rune Wars, they don't know what they're doing, they're destroying the world, and so Ishtal is like isolated. That's why no one goes in and out of Ishtal, because Ishtal doesn't want anyone to, and it's literally their magic, the powers with the Axiomata, controlling the different elements to keep everyone out. Piltover is constantly trying to farm the forests of Ishtal and getting like destroyed, even their machines. There's so much good lore in Ishtal, not to mention their freaking elemental drakes. All right, back to the topic. You guys realize how much you can throw me off with one comment. One comment, you'll send me down a tangent rabbit hole. Let Fortiche cook. With both Noxus and Ionia having received major cinematic treatments recently, Demacia stands out as the next logical candidate for a deep narrative dive. The pieces fit perfectly. The hint of Katarina points to a major Demacian political event. The Garen vs. Darius slip suggests a focus on the war with Noxus, and Riot's own statements place Demacia high on the priority list. All evidence suggests that the story of Mage Seekers, royal intrigue, and a kingdom on the brink of the civil war is what we'll be seeing next from the master storytellers at Riot and Fortiche. And then beyond Fortiche, by the way, there is a live action that looks like it's being developed. I have a whole video on it about an Arcane live action style in Bilgewater. So while Fortiche production appears to be charting a course for Demacia in the animated sphere, it's worth noting that the Runeterra universe is also expanding into live action. Riot Games confirmed that a live action project is currently in development set in a treacherous port city of Bilgewater. This signifies a broad multimedia strategy for the world of Runeterra, exploring different regions and storytelling formats simultaneously. Now, I do want to say this. The reason that these zones are so good, the reason Demacia is being selected, the reason Bilgewater is being selected is because they're grounded in character stories. They're grounded in regular stories that people can relate to. Bilgewater is grounded with pirates. Start off, you get that Pirates of the Caribbean style theme. Then you start exploring some of the more fantastical things going on. You start exploring the Buhru people over here with Alawi. You start exploring maybe like a harrowing shows up. Then you start exploring the Shadow Isles because those two places tie together. But at the beginning, you start with Misfortune as a child, her mother getting killed by Gangplank, that kind of thing. Here we go. You start off with those grounded character stories. Same thing over here with Demacia. What do you start with Demacia? Well, you start with the relationship between Lux and Garen, the brother and sister, a sister who's magical, born in a city that's very anti-magic. You explore the Black Rose infiltrating the Mage Seekers and causing them to twist their vision from something that's good, like, hey, protect us from the Rune Wars, to something bad where now they're against all mages. Keep in mind, magic was used to build Demacia back then, before it was twisted and corrupted from the inside, the Mage Seeker Order, to the point they turned on their own citizens and started imprisoning mages. Morgana and Kael, you can tie in Targon, right? You can have flashbacks later on and then tie in the Veiled Lady, because she kind of brings up she's kind of the defender of those magicians that are basically being imprisoned and tortured. And then Kael, the Justice, right? Justice incarnated, and the prayers going out to Kael and Targon. And Tariq himself literally goes to Targon he's not on here. He's a Targon champion, but he's from Demacia. And you can go through the Crown of Stones and Tariq's inner turmoil with Demacia that leads him there. So I think, honestly, if you're going to have Demacia, you're going to tie in Targon. Then you can connect to familiar characters like Ambessa when they're children. When Lux is young and Tarek and Garen are young, Jarvan the fourth is young. You tie in Ambessa, and we could see some Ambessa events occurring because the Black Rose is already trying to infiltrate Demacia, and we could see maybe Ambessa having some input there. And then when they get older and the assassination occurs of King Jarvan III with Katarina, you can have Mel maybe trying to prevent it in the background, being against the Black Rose. There's a lot of stuff there. Bilgewater could be a story spanning both Noxus and Demacia, to be frank. Yeah. Well, I think if you're going to tell the story of Demacia, you have to tell the story of Noxus. If you tell the story of Noxus, you have to tell the story of Demacia. They kind of go so hand in hand together. It's like, it's the oldest rivalry in Runeterra. It really is. But I think if you're going to tell the story of Demacia, you want to touch on Targon as well. Freljord, I mean, there is the Sejuani story with the Winter's Claw kind of raiding the northern area, but it's not needed. I would say if you're going to focus on a couple major stories for Demacia, you want to tell the story of the Ruination, because that has a lot to do with Demacia and how it was formed. So you might pull in the real Rise. We all got baited on the first Piltover and Zon Arcane series at the beginning, thinking that was Rise. The real Rise, right, and him storing world runes underneath a Petrosite tree in Demacia. You start out there. Ruination, number 1. Number 2, you have to explore the Noxus and Demacia series, like their interactions. Number 3, I would say, would be the Ruination and the Sentinels of Light. Actually, and with the Rune Wars, exploring that, you have to explore the Mage Seekers and all that story with King Jarvan III and his assassination, and the Mage Seekers being corrupted from the inside with the Black Rose. So that's 1. 2 is the relationship between Demacia and Noxus. Then 3, I would say, is the Ruination with the Sentinels of Light. Hopefully they can fix that. And then 4, if you can either touch on Kayla Morgana here and just leave it at that, or you can pull in Targon a little bit and like see Tarek's climb to the peak of Mount Targon and why he was there and why he felt conflicted in Demacia and that kind of thing. And the relationship between Kayla and Morgana, you have like some historical stuff and then present day. And then 5, Demons in Demacia. We know Fiddlesticks and Evelyn both operate at least at some point within Demacia, and so that's like a stretch goal. If you can get there, that would be great as well, to see like some Fiddlesticks stuff. And you know, I'll make an article. Maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow. I'll write like a nice article with cinematics and videos and explain the lore behind everything that I'm talking about. And we'll go through Demacia, what it could be for the series of Arcane. And that's, you could see why I do these articles now, because it's hard to pull up stuff on the spot. And so I just have it organized. So we'll do that. We'll do that next. Bilgewater lore is actually really cool. They could be one centered around Misfortune and Gangplank and expand the other hittings 100%. That's exactly the way I would go. Start out with Misfortune as a child, her family, and then Gangplank walks in, buys a pistol, and pops both of her parents, and then that's how the story starts. Who would be the big bad of Demacia? The big bad of Demacia is honestly the Black Rose. If you guys want, you know what? Tomorrow, we're going to do Arcane. We're going to do Arcane Season 3, what Demacia would look like, and I'll do Demacia raid bosses for the Riot MMO, because that'll explain a lot of lore, and I'll get into some of the characters there and who I think will be raid bosses for the Riot MMO for Demacia. So I think that'd be really good. But I think the biggest raid boss for Demacia may be just the Black Rose Order, Mage Seeker Order that's corrupted, the corrupted members of the Mage Seekers, because they're really messed up. They're a messed up group. And if you want, you know, maybe you could tie in Ruination and Viego. All right, guys. I think Demacia, great choice. Great choice. Let's go back to news and lore. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the Bilgewater live action. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.